what's up? This is Ben from WODprep, and today we are going to answer one of the most common questions that I get as a coach, and I'm sure you get it all the time too. What do I do when I have knee pain? As CrossFitters, we tend to use our knees a lot, especially if you come from a non-active background. Squats, thrusters, running, rowing, all sorts of things that impact our knee. Today, we're gonna teach you how to fix knee pain and keep you training. But really quick, if you haven't, make sure you go to WODprep.com where you can download all kinds of free training guides. We have free training material to help you improve and become an RX athlete, so go grab it. And if by the end of this video you think this guy is smart and you want to work with him to work through your pain, regardless of where it is, just email support@WODprep.com and I will personally link you up with Dr. CJ. So let's get into it. Knee pain when I do CrossFit, how do I fix it? Or I guess the first question is, how did it happen?
Right. So we'll disclaimer before we start. There's definitely not any medical advice by any means whatsoever. This is just the most common things that I see. This is very general, probably not extremely specific to any one person. So this is just kind of tips and tricks that I've used in my practice that I've been able to give people kind of on the fly that have seemed to help. Okay, this is what I do, but again, always go see a healthcare professional if you are very unsure of what's going on.
Sure, and that healthcare professional can be Dr. CJ.
Right. So I'm a physical therapist, not a physician, so we always want to make clear.
Okay.
Ben. So how does knee pain happen, right? Many ways. Most common is tendonitis. Right? It's what most people experience above or below the patellar or what's the kneecap. Squatting or impact action can cause tendinopathy or tendonitis. Now, for those that have felt pain like after a big squat or they fell or that was very abrupt, sharp, and quick, what we call acute.
Trauma, like if you get run over by a car and you have knee pain, it's different than the lingering pain that a lot of CrossFitters feel. So we just want to make sure we're talking about the lingering pain that a lot of people just seem to come out of nowhere. But if you had a traumatic injury where you had an impact or you hit your knee with a barbell really hard or something like that, that could be some sort of trauma.
Right, correct. So we're not talking about trauma today. We're talking about that chronic, progressive pain that's kind of been there for a while. So how does it get there? What is it? A lot of ways. The most common thought way is technique and or posture or the way you squat or the way you run. Now, I'm not saying those things don't cause pain because they definitely can, but the research really points more to volume and how much you're doing, how often, and how prepared you were for doing X activity that much.
If you come from, let's say, a background of sitting on the couch and watching Netflix,
right,
and then switch to CrossFit 3 times a week, that in itself, whether it's CrossFit or Zumba or running or biking, that any of those can cause knee pain just simply due to the increase in volume. Is that what you're saying? Okay. So it's not necessarily because you squat with narrow knees, which it could be a factor, but oftentimes it's, oh, it has to be a form thing. It's got to be a problem with what I'm doing, when really it could just be volume.
So on that note, we're going to talk a little bit about just squatting technique. We're not going to go over running or anything. We're just going to talk about squatting.
We do have a video all about the air squat, so just click wherever the thing floats on the screen and you can see that video. But really quick, let's go over a couple things.
The couple things we want to talk about. Ben's going to demonstrate a bad squat first, or a bad squat, or a squat that most people kind of demonize or say is just really bad. So as you notice, squat down, his knees are inside of his feet. The pressure of his foot is very in the middle, and his outside heel is kind of off the ground. So go ahead and stand, take a breath. Yep, legs are burning. So what we want to do is we want to have a nice balanced foot. It gives us a good ankle structure, which the knees are going to track just lateral, just outside the foot. So you see his knees are tracking out. His knees are in front of his toes, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a big myth. He's going to demonstrate one more time, and we're tracking outside. His foot is balanced, and that's pretty much the goal. The knees are out, so he's clearing his hips so he can stay nice and upright. And that's very important for front squatting, thrusters, overhead squats, etc. for CrossFit athletes, weightlifting athletes, or barbell enthusiasts in general.
I checked all these boxes, like I'm squatting decently. It might be a volume thing, but I really want to keep CrossFitting. How do I get back in the game and eliminate this knee pain?
Okay, so the wall sit, Ben's going to demonstrate. We'll see how long we can keep him down there while before he starts burning. But what the wall sit is a quadricep isometric, which means a muscle contraction that isn't moving. The muscle's working, but there's no shortening or lengthening of the muscle. And what that does is that puts some tension on the tendon above or below the knee, the patellar tendon or femoral tendon, and it gives us the ability to challenge it without usually spiking our pain level. So what Ben's going to do is he is going to start to lower in the wall sit and basically stop right before he feels pain. So no pain there, keeps going down, feels it a little bit, stops right there, holds 15 to 30 seconds, and he stands back up. Good. then he's going to do it again, and we're going to try and get a little bit lower. It should be a little bit easier. The isometric is known to create an analgesic or pain relieving effect. 3 to 4 sets of 15 to 30 seconds, you know, kind of as your warm up. Always warm up, bike, row, run, whatever you do. Maybe not running if you're having some knee pain, but bike, row, something to that effect to get some blood flow. And then we go here as the first part of our warm up.
So you would do it a few times, holding 15 to 30 seconds, again, at or just above that position of pain. Now, where should my feet be? Is 90 degrees generally where I should have them? Or
yeah, we never want to be too far out. And then if we're too far in, the further that knee translate, the more we're going to load it. So right now, again, nothing wrong with loading your knee or having your knee in front of your toe, but right now, since we're in some pain, might not be the most optimal position, so we're going to try and find a position that is going to load our hips and our knee kind of balanced. So I always just start with 90 degrees. Tip number 2, or the second piece of the warm-up, is going to be the tempo goblet squat, right? So Ben's just going to demonstrate a traditional goblet squat for us. It's nice and smooth through his range of motion. Ben doesn't have any pain. But for some, you might not be able to squat very well at all. So what I do is we slow it down. We start with the holds on the wall. Now we're going to go to what we call tempo, or eccentrics, nice and slow. So what Ben's going to do is he's going to squat down nice and slow, and he's going to stop right at the beginning of that painful range of motion. Because again, we might have a range that we kind of have pain coming down, and then it goes away, and then coming up, you'll hit kind of a window that your knee is kind of flared up, and then it goes away either as we're coming up or coming down. So he's going to stop right at the top half of that window, come down, and he's going to stop, and then he's going to stand back up. All right, we'll hold 3 to 5 seconds. He's going to come down. He's going to go a little bit further, kind of deeper into the window, and then he's going to come up. All right, and then he's going to come down, kind of working all the way through the window. If it's not getting any easier, don't go any further. Stay at that very low end, or I guess the top end of the range that is painful. But it should start to calm down pretty quickly. And then what I really like to do is I call it like an oscillating squat. So what it's going to do, I'll demonstrate for Ben so he kind of understands. So we're going to find the pain. Range is maybe from here to here. So we're just going to kind of hover above it, and then hover below it, and then hover above it. And slowly working, the window will just get smaller and smaller and smaller. Good. And then low, and then above, and then back down. And then we're kind of just slowly working the range. The window decreases, and then the pain just starts to dissipate. Again, this isn't a guarantee. This is just something that I've done with a lot of my patients, and it works very well. The kettlebell is more for balance, a balanced squat, and it helps us squat with an improved position and ease. So that's why I like the goblet squat over like doing this with like a barbell on your back, where your range of motion and your positions are challenged a little bit more. Okay. So tip number 3 is going to be the box squat, right? Bars on Ben's back. And he's going to do a traditional box squat. He's going to sit down and back to the box. Good. And he's going to stand. When he sits down in the box, he'll rock back just a little bit once he sits. And then he stands back up, nice and slow in tempo. Now what this does is, one of the biggest things with tendonitis is the structure of the tendon is changing. So we have to change it back. Or we have to get new tendon to lay down. So we have to load it. But we have to do it, very controlled manner. So what we do here is we're still getting a good heavy squat in, which is very good for tendonitis or tendinopathy, because we want to change that structure of the tendon back to its more traditional structure. And what it does is it will, along with like we talked about the nervous system and kind of modulating that and getting the pain to kind of dissipate, we'll get the tendon to function normally again. Okay, so now with the box squat, a couple pro tips. We want to make sure at first, we talked about keeping our shins as straight as possible, so we're going to do a very, what we call a west side style squat, which is really reaching back, relaxing, and then standing. Okay, and we'll do that. Again, you can load this heavy. We want the depth to be right above or right at the top end of that painful range of motion. We don't want to go too far, but over time, we start to go lower and lower and lower. And then again, hopefully it just dissipates over time.
So I hope that you like this video. Now you have 3 different drills that you can use to train through and around your knee pain. So I'm hoping that after watching this, you can try these drills out and finally get back to CrossFitting without knee pain. If you would like more free training material, make sure you go to WODprep.com. We have tons of stuff there for you. If you want to get in contact with CJ, just email support@WODprep.com. We'll link you up. He's not necessarily cheap, but he is very effective, and he can potentially help you train through and around your pain with a customized programming. If that's not on the cards, that's totally fine. This video should help. Make sure you click thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't like this material. Click subscribe, and question of the day: where have you experienced pain? Whether it's CrossFit or some other form of sport, we all experience pain at some point. For me, I know when I was probably like a couple years in, I had severe shoulder pain, and I was like convinced my shoulder had problems. And then luckily, I kind of changed my mindset about it and started just working through it with a little bit less weight, not trying to 1RM my snatch every single time I touched the barbell. And it eventually went away, and now I'm thankful to say that I have no pain whatsoever. CJ, what about you?
Yeah, I definitely struggled with some bilateral or both sides shoulder pain for quite a long time, and I was convinced that it was structure, you know, technique, and when I kind of adapted this into my training, my philosophy, I got it to go away, and I'm 100% pain-free.
So he applied the stuff he learned and PT'd himself.
There it is.
Where have you experienced pain? Leave a comment below, and we will see you in the next video.